What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports here to give you the edge for this 10-13 fight slate on DraftKings. Cannot wait to break it down. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future MMA content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GPP, head over to www.dgfantasy.com. On dgfantasy.com, we give you cheat sheets for every major sport, along with ownership projections, actual projections, and strategy for every single slate. We also cover optimal cash plays as well as preferred GPP plays and stacks for specific contest sizes. We do the dirty work for you. We are also currently partnered with Fantasy Cruncher, the best optimizer in the industry. When signing up for our $30 package, you also get a $20 credit to use towards any Fantasy Cruncher product. We provide the best value in the industry. And now let's go ahead and dive right into this MMA 13 fight slate. As always with Kevin. Kevin, let's go ahead and break down last week's slate.
Yes, sir. So last slate was good for us, Matt. UFC 266. We always crush the pay-per-views, Matt, as you know. We always talk about. This night was no exception. Easiest cash line ever. It was just free money, Matt. We had some people crush the lines, had another takedown in there. So we've had takedowns, Matt, actually 3 of the last 4 weeks. So we've been absolutely crushing it. Off the rip, we said Pierce was green for this, for his wrestling, and he got the sub, which was nice. Semmelsberger was green even at his price because we know how well he can score, and he smoked with a 15-second knockout. Did he make the optimal at that price, Matt?
I'm sorry, I accidentally clicked on the NFL breakdown from last week, so give me a second. Sort by actual score. And I'm sorry, who are you asking about?
Semmelsberger.
He did not. He scored. Wow, he didn't. Hold on.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, just because it's
126. Yeah, it would have to be because of the price tag here. I'm going to crunch the optimal. I just got to the page.
There was a lot of good
50,000.
scores, Matt.
That would make sense. That means the chalk hit, and there's probably a lot of ties, yeah.
Yep, and that's why. That's why I said he was green and wasn't a love lister, because that's why. And I didn't even expect him to score that well. They scored crazy. Maximov was an easy cash play, yet for some reason wasn't as high owned as I thought he should have been, and he scored great for his price. What did Maximov get? Like 90 something? Yeah, free money. So
he was the lowest scorer, by the way, 96.
Not lowest scoring winner.
For the optimal, lowest scoring.
Oh,
optimal.
he was in the optimal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yep.
I didn't even know that. So even better. I took him in cash. So Turner was a love lister, and Tarantula got it done big way. First round sub. His hands are what set it up though, but he's a problem for sure. Santos, I said, would be a lock to win in a decision with such a stand-up advantage, and she won that decision pretty boringly. Dawkins, free money every time, Matt. Free money every time. You know, that's 4 knockouts in a row for him. What did Dawkins score?
Dawkins scored 106. Did not make the optimal.
Not make the optimal, but he does well every time, Matt. We take him every time on 95% of cards. Like, literally probably 95% of cards he makes the optimal at that price for that. It was just a ridiculously high scoring night. I had some locks to win on this slate, Matt, where I took some hard stances. I don't know if you remember. I just had a mismatch of talent in my mind where I saw like some mid-range pricing guys, mid-range Vegas lines, and I just thought they were kind of skewed. One of them was Nasrat versus Hooker. I didn't think Nasrat was on Hooker's level, and that is exactly what happened. Hooker outpaced him by 142 total strikes and had 3 takedowns to boot, so he smoked them. What did Hooker score?
107.
Okay. And was that optimal or not?
That was not. This is insane. I think it's the
That's
highest
what I'm saying. It was just a
ridiculous.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, Matt.
He barely missed it, by the way.
I was gonna say, well, I was trying to do the math because what was Dawkins, 88 or 8900?
88. Sorry.
88. So he was a little more expensive. And what did Dawkins score?
Dawkins scored 106.
And Hooker scored
107.
That's why I was like, it was a razor thin there. So I was like, I didn't know if he just pushed Dawkins out.
Right.
But someone must have just pushed Hooker out too.
Yep. But it was Pierce and Turner that were the slate breakers because of their price tags.
Yep, I knew Pierce would be. Yeah, Pierce snapped off that. We talked about the wrestling, took him down, got the submission. But this, I mean, the lines though, like I said, Nasrat and Hooker seem somewhat close on paper. Trust me, people, not Vegas. Vegas doesn't know. I know.
You are Vegas.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I wish. But Merab, Matt, this was stupid. Merab was the most easiest love lister, and Moraes was green because we know the power that Marlon Moraes has. You know what I mean? We're not sleeping on that at all. One of my favorite, price guys or lower price guys on the slate just for that knockout ability in his hands. We know he has good hands. He had Henry Cejudo in trouble in their in the first round of their fight, and then he kind of gasses out and fades and doesn't do as well against grapplers, and we know this. But yeah, he looked he looked good, and then Merab obviously looked amazing after he got through that storm, I guess. I mean, to be fair, Marlon Moraes could have justifiably, that fight could have been ended, Matt. It's weird because it's tough because Merab came back, and this is a common argument in MMA, Matt. Like, if they come back and win and are fine, then you can't say it would have justifiably been stopped. But by MMA standards, and was he intelligently defending himself at the time? Not really. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, there's an argument there. But Merab, Matt, I couldn't believe the ownership. Even in cash games, his ownership was like, it was criminally low. It was like 40% or something in my contest.
Yeah, he projected for 35, so.
Yeah, that's so stupid, dude. Like, I don't know what the hell's wrong with people. Like, what did Merab
He scored 163.
163.
Hold on. Yeah, I just lost you for a second. We're good, though. We're good.
Yep, you're good. 163. What is happening? That's ridiculous. 250 strikes, 4 takedowns. That's probably the second highest score I've ever seen, Matt. And probably the highest score I've ever seen in a 3-round fight. He has to have the highest average score in 3-round fights. I mean, he's had 2
I don't know if there's a way to look
fights
that
clear
up,
150
but definitely.
or whatever it is. Yeah, it's crazy. So next was Andrada, Jessica Andrade, rather. She was green as hell for her hands and her power. We talked about her finish ability, Matt, and she got it done in the first. Sometimes I watch her fight, Matt, Jessica Andrade, and I wonder how she isn't up there with the likes of like a Nunes or Shevchenko. I think it's just she's a little inconsistent, especially at the top level against these elite fighters. But she looks so fucking good sometimes, man. Like, she impresses the hell out of me. She looked awesome. She just, like, her movement, she looked awesome. Did she make the optimal or not?
She did make the optimal, yes.
Okay. What'd she score?
She scored 109. So
What?
yeah,
That's
so
insane.
it really was just like putting together a puzzle, Kevin. When you look at the price tags and the
She made it at 9K. So that 109 pushed her past like
she made
Hooker, who was 300 cheaper, but scored only 3 points less.
Yep.
Or 2 points
Jessica
less.
Merab, Alex Pavlonsky for the
Volkanovski.
Yeah. Maximov, Turner, and
Yep.
Pierce. So that was
Crazy.
the exact optimal at 50K.
That is so razor thin between her, Dawkins, and Hooker. That's insane. That's crazy. But yeah, all 3 of them were green, so all 3 of them did awesome. Who are we on to next? We had Nunes, who was, I mean, not Nunes, I'm sorry.
That was like,
Blades.
wait a second.
Yeah, Nunes was not on this card. I was just talking about Nunes comparing her. Blades was a love lister because of his floor and his ceiling. Def had a floor fight. 9,300 didn't look amazing. I think it was 9,300, right? Was he that expensive?
Was 92. Yep.
92. Yeah, pretty expensive. Didn't look great. Did okay, though. Diaz and Lawler was live and double green for pricing, and I guess it did okay. Still hated the fight. Was a nightmare to pick on. Obviously didn't make the optimal, so that was good. Shevchenko was big green and had her in cash, and obviously she smoked Lauren Murphy. What did Shevchenko score?
Shevchenko scored one of 7.9.
Okay, so another really high score. Obviously her price tag was really tough to get to, and why she didn't make the optimal. But she's lights out. Volk, Matt, was my other. I don't know if you remember. Volkanovski was another hard stance. I said I was going to take 0% Brian Ortega, and I think Volk smokes him. That was my hard stance. And Ortega had some moments where he looked good. Had Volk uncomfortable. I wouldn't say in trouble, but uncomfortable. But Volk smashed him. Had double his total and double his total and 6 strikes, Matt. So over double. So I know some people, I rewatched it, the fight. I didn't watch all of it when it happened, but in hindsight, I don't think it was a super close fight in my opinion. But what did Volk score?
Volk scored second highest on the slate with 135.
Nice. Perfect. So yeah, it went pretty good for us, Matt. Really good night.
Yeah, I just want to toot your horn real quick. As you know, Kevin, if you go back and rewatch your videos, you know I green light and yellow light and red light these guys with the little thumbs up. Literally, I'm going down the list and I sorted by highest score, and you literally crushed it in terms of the green lights and yellow lights. Like, I'm looking down at the very bottom, and they're all yellow and red lights. That's it. And then obviously there's some green lights, but those are the guys that got smashed that were in a smash or past.
Yeah, smash or beast. Yeah. It was like one or the other. We just love the fight. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You literally, I'm showing you guys a screen. You guys can go and look at the red light, green light. I sorted it by green light, and they're all green light at the very top. All of them. Every single one. Not even, there's no yellow lights, there's no red lights mixed in. All green. So congrats on that.
It was, it was that kind of night, man. I think the writing was on the wall for this one. We did pretty well. I appreciate it, but hopefully we can keep that success going.
Yep.
So let's rip it off. We got Alejandro Perez versus Johnny Eduardo off the rip. Mexico's a different world, man. Perez has fought. He fought 4 times professionally, Matt, before he was even 18, I believe. Which you can do in Mexico, which is crazy.
That is great.
He's 30. Yeah, it's wild. He's 32 now. He's been around the block. Was on Tough Latin America and has been in the UFC since. Record of 7-3. Essentially, even though one was a draw, but he won the fight minus a point deduction for a late hit. That whole crap. But he's on a 2-fight loss streak now. But that was to Song Yadong and Cody Stamann, who also, fits the category of a very talented fighter alongside Song Yadong. The Cody fight was very close as well. Eduardo has been hot and cold in the UFC, Matt. Some quality losses, some not quality losses, some quality wins, some not so quality wins. So both of these guys are pretty good finishers, with Eduardo being more of a glass cannon with 21 of these 21 finishes and 9 losses by way of submission. So obviously that fits the bill for glass cannon. I will mark both green here, Matt, as there's a lot of volatility in this fight with their styles. We're looking at a minus 150 finish chance, and both of these guys have actually been laid off for a pretty solid amount of time. Solid amount of time, Matt. For Perez, it's been 2 years. He's been outside the octagon. Eduardo, 3. So that just screams volatility with 2, people who can crack pretty hard, who have volatility in their game, and now they've had a combined 5-year layoff. So that doesn't hurt.
Well, leverage right off the rip here. I'm going to give the benchmark percentage. It's anybody that's above the top 6 in terms of ownership. 34.4 is going to be that benchmark for us. Of course, we are excluding that 12th fight, which we'll talk about here in a second. But that will be updated in the morning. Perez at 20.1 and Eduardo at 12.2. So combined ownership-wise, plenty of leverage here in the first fight.
Yeah, tons of leverage. Love that. Moving on, we got Egger versus Young, like you talked about, Matt. This one recently got added to the scoring or the DraftKings pricing, I should say. And then you don't have ownership yet, right?
We don't have anything but whatever you're about to say about them.
Yeah. So, both these ladies have had, not the best UFC debuts, where Shayna Young got beat pretty good by Macy Chiasson, and then Egger got who she get beat by? Tracy Cortez. They're both 0-1 in the UFC. I think it was Young who lost her Contender Series fight as well against Sarah Alpar. So I have yet to see anything super impressive from either of these ladies. It's mid-range pricing, Matt, 8,200 versus 8K, plus 160 finish chance, which isn't the worst thing in the world for these women's fights. I don't know. Well, that's definitely going to be one we'll look into more now that once we get ownership and stuff like that, Matt. But it's not popping off the page for me.
Okay. And again, I have no ownership projections. We will have that for any DGFantasy.com member. If you guys sign up for that, $20 a month gives you access to all that. So again, we just don't have any ownership on there because it just got added to the card. So we will be providing more information on that here in the morning.
Yep.
Moving
on, we got Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Gaetano Parello. Douglas will be green off the rip for sure, Matt. He has big power. He's beaten some serious names in the UFC. He's beaten Renan Barão. He's beaten Marlon Vera. Pretty impressive. I think Parello is a good dance partner for him as well as a stand-up fighter. This fight should just stay standing, Matt, on paper. I will go yellow for Parello, but I can't do much better. He had a tough matchup stylistically against Ricky Simón. We talked about this being a stand-up fight, Matt. Parello wants it to be a stand-up fight. Douglas wants it to be a stand-up fight. Ricky Simón is not a stand-up fighter. So Parello did not do super well. He fought a grappler, but he was swamped. He got absolutely destroyed by Ricky Simón. But again, it was in the grappling world. So, it's not going to be the same kind of fight. It's definitely a different style matchup and should be better for him with Douglas. But Douglas is also tough. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're getting a stand-up fighter now, but it's a tough stand-up fighter. So I'll mark him yellow, and I think Douglas should be green here, Matt.
All right. Douglas green, I'll go ahead and mark him. In terms of ownership here, we have 24 for Douglas, Parello at 12.7. So there is some leverage opportunity here. It looks like more so on the Douglas side, the way that you're talking them up a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely a little more on the Douglas side, just because I know what he can do. Like I said, if you can beat Renan Barão and Marlon Vera, and you're a new, you're a stand-up striker, then that impresses me a lot, because both those guys can crack. Both those guys are very good in their own stand-up way. So,
all right,
100%. Moving on, we got Devon Smith versus Jamie Malarkey. Loveless fight for sure. No need to get cute with this one, Matt. Smith is a bad dude. He hits hard, as we saw against James, Ma, Arosa. Great pricing, too, as a favorite in a minus 200 chance fight here, Matt. We got that is the finish chance, rather, minus 200. Malarkey, another power puncher who will look to keep this fight standing. Coming off a brutal knockout loss to Comworthy, who is actually Smith's only loss in the UFC. So it is worth noting, if common opponent means anything to you, that Malarkey just smoked Worthy, and Worthy is Smith's only loss. But Yeah, I had Common that fight, so I remember watching him go down in horror with Jamie Malarkey, starching him. But both of these guys crack really hard. I think this fight is going to be a fight of the night contender, at least on paper, Matt. These guys both want to stand. They both want to swing hard. So I think it's going to be a kind of a brawl. I like this one.
Wow. Well, then we love to see the leverage here. 28% on Devontae Smith, not the Eagles wide receiver.
Yeah, I was thinking of, yeah.
I had to double take. I was like, wait, there's an A there.
Too.
Yeah, there's an A there. Devonta, not Devontae.
Yeah.
And then Jamie Malarkey at 22.7, Kevin. So both below that benchmark. This looks like a huge leverage fight. Like probably the biggest so far.
I'm going 100% on this fight, knowing what you just told me.
Good to know. Good to know. I agree with you. Yep. Aggressive stance here.
That one's big. It's actually one of my only. There's a lot of fights, and I'll talk about this. There's a lot of fights I like on this slate map. Sometimes you never know what you're gonna get with me. I might do, I think it was 2 weeks ago we had 6 punts who made the punt list. You know what I mean? You might have 4 GPP plays. You might have 7 GPP plays. This is a very low love listing card map. Probably the lowest I've ever done. So there's not a lot of fights. That doesn't mean bad. Like, it's not a bad card. That doesn't mean there's not a ton of potential. It's just there's not a lot of
aggressive on a couple fights.
Yeah, and there's just not as many like obvious like this is the fight that's gonna like break the slate. This is the one. You know what I mean? There's a lot of potential, but it's pretty even across the board. There's a lot of like B+ fights,
especially in terms of pricing for this fight.
Correct.
These are both
correct. So this is a love lister for sure.
Okay.
That's one of the only ones that's like guaranteed. Moving on, we got Betch Correa versus Cal Rosa. Correa's a fighter. Once that was a pretty big fan on that. She was 3-0 in the UFC. Pretty downhill from there after with a record of 2-5-1. Since then, she has fought some killers. Obviously, she fought Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm, but not quite as good as we once thought she was. She is a vet though. Been in the UFC 8 years. Comes in as a super heavy underdog against Cal Rosa for good reason. The main thing to look at here, Matt, is how does Carol score in a decision, because that is by far the most likely outcome here. And the answer is actually really well.
Very well.
Cal Rosa, yeah, very well.
Consistent.
She's very consistent. All 3 fights were over 100 points, right?
They were all. It was. Listen to this: 111, 109, 108. Like I don't know if you can get more consistent than that.
That's almost an average, Matt, of 110. I think right around 110. So I mean, yeah, I had at 9,300, Matt, and her average being 110. Unless it was last slate, that makes the optimal. You know what I mean? So I think that's definitely going to be a green light for Cal Rosa for that reason.
And then Correa, you're not really giving the fighters chance, no pun intended.
I think she's good. I'll put her yellow. Just because I do believe in her talent is still there to a degree, but I can't do much better than that.
For a heavy underdog, the ownership on this is actually a little bit surprising here. 12.6 for Correa, and I feel like we don't normally see that for that.
She's kind of a big name, Matt. She's been around forever. I think that's why.
Explains it. Okay.
Like I said, she's been in big fights. Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey. Yeah, that's why.
And Rosa's going to be chalk. 37.4%. I think that's pretty expected, just given the Vegas odds here to win this thing. I think that makes it makes a lot of sense actually. So
yeah, she's what did you say, like a 575 favorite or something?
571. Yep. Wow.
Yeah,
that was great. Good memory.
Yeah, thanks.
All right,
pretty handsome and stunning, if I do say so myself. Just kidding. Antonina Shevchenko versus Casey O'Neill. Interesting. Minus 140 finish chance here, Matt. So obviously that's interesting. I like both of these fighters to a degree. I like Antonina as she has all the offensive skills to score well. She's quite frankly isn't close to as talented as her sister. We've seen that in her performances against Chukagin and Lee, where she got pretty dominated, Matt. I mean, we've seen Antonina get like shit on before. The undefeated Casey O'Neill has looked absolutely electric, and she is right on the cusp of being a love lister. She's very close. She has a perfect record in her professional career. Awesome pace, well-rounded, finishes fights. She scored 110 and 140 in her 2 UFC fights. So I don't know, Matt, your ownership might move her. This is one that you can move to love list for me on Casey O'Neill's ownership.
40. That is the second highest on the slate. I like the way that you're thinking though. O'Neil, yeah. So 40% second highest on the slate. So I did just notice that. And Shevchenko, do you give her a fighter's chance? I mean, the Vegas does.
Yes,
clearly.
I think Shevchenko. She has the skills. She has the skill set. She's just inconsistent.
31% is what they're giving her.
She's a good flyer.
13.6. So just comparing that straight up to the other fight, whereas Shevchenko has a lot more better of a chance to win this thing. I think that makes a lot more sense for leverage, Kevin.
Yeah, I think it's potential there. And like I said, Casey O'Neill, I wish she wasn't so high owned. I thought just being a women's fight, and for some reason she might float under the radar. The two fights that you've told me have the highest ownership is Cal Rosa and
I mean, it makes sense, right? So Kevin, hey,
Yes and no, I guess. I don't know. Does
we are
it?
not sexist today. This is crazy.
No, just today, I guess.
Yeah,
Like we're not sexist.
we are talking about the women's.
I know. It's crazy. It's almost like we're unbiased and we,
Speak from a
have no,
stats perspective. Yeah, it's weird.
yeah, speak and not from the heart. It's weird.
Yeah.
But moving on, we go Joe Salecki versus Jared Gordon. Nice little contrast in styles here, and another close love lister, but just short. Just can't get him in there. Great pricing here as well. I do like Salecki as a tough New Jersey grappler. Has cleared 102 of his 3 UFC fights. He didn't against Miller, Matt, but Miller stylistically, I mean, anybody who knows fighting knows, Miller's an amazing grappler, and that's going to slow him down a bit, especially if that's your style. A lot of perplexities here, Matt. I don't hate. Like I said, I like Joe Salecki. I like what he's done. Gordon, wrestling background, brown belt under John Danaher, which, Matt, I don't know if you know who John Danaher is, but that means something. Gordon's got great stand-up. So what happens in this fight? Can Salecki, is his grappling enough to, beat out Gordon's wrestling and pretty good grappling himself and take him down? Is, Gordon good enough to keep it standing where he wants? I don't know. Because of the unknown in this one, Matt, it's hard to expect how this is going to go. It's where you get 2 decent finishers, but a plus 130 finish chance. And I think it's because of the reasons I'm talking about, where it's kind of like perplexing of how this fight is actually going to play out. So I actually low-key agree with the plus 130 finish chance. I do see tons of potential here for both, though, especially at that pricing. So I'll double green it, but it is a little weird.
It just got even weirder with the ownership.
What is it?
They're both like surprisingly high for somebody who, I mean, think about this, Kevin. We usually break down these fights that are very close in terms of pricing and Vegas odds, and nobody wants to touch it for good odds.
Yeah.
Or for good reason, rather. I mean, you would think that this would be the exact same situation given the finish chance.
Yeah, usually like this fight is like 24 to 28% ownership or something.
Yeah, well, right, and it's even higher. Combined
That's
ownership.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, so Salecki is 32.9% owned, and Gordon is 23.4%. And when comparing it to the other fights that we've already talked about, like this is higher overall.
Yeah, especially Salecki.
Yeah, so I'm confused, and I also while doing my research, aka looking at the scoring, I'll pull it up here above my big head. I just saw the weirdest thing I've ever seen, probably when it comes to MMA. Just a quick fun fact here: Jared Gordon, first of all, scores off the charts whenever he finishes. But he got knocked out in a loss versus Joaquin Silva and scored 75.95 points.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I think he was dominating that fight.
What?
Yeah. It's crazy. It happens.
I think that's the highest I've seen in the loss. Unless it was but it wasn't even a 5-rounder. It was a 3-round. So that's even crazier to say out loud.
That is crazy. The only one I can think is comparable. I don't know if you remember a couple cards ago, we had the UFC.
Was it a 5 or 3-rounder?
It was a 3-rounder. It was the tough finale. A couple weeks ago. That'd be a good stat check. That was the highest. I had the loser, and he was.
What did he score?
Can we find this? Is it possible? Because now it's going to bother the shit out of me. Okay, I'll find it later. It was who the hell was? I gotta find this. Sorry. I just gotta at least find out who it was. It was the tough finale. They make it so hard to look it up now. Bronson versus Till, Chicago. Damn, this was a grip ago. When they can keep waiting.
Hopefully, it doesn't get copyrighted by my amazing.
Oh, it was
Jeopardy.
Yeah, it was Ricky Tercios versus Brady Highstand.
Nice.
It was the bantamweight tough title, but Brady, as the loser, Matt, had 76 strikes, 6 takedowns, and 82 total strikes. So he scored pretty well. The 6 takedowns, the biggest one. That's 30 points off the rip with no striking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That is crazy.
So, yeah. So it was probably about the mid-70s or something like that. I think that's what it was.
Yeah,
but,
so it is exactly comparable. Anyway, that just stood out to me.
That's crazy. That is crazy. Yeah, Gordon cracks. Gordon's very good, Matt. We know this. He does have some decisions in his record. How did he score against? You have his scores there, right?
Yep.
I remember his fight. The fight that stands out most recently that I remember we talked about was the Chris Fishgold fight. How did he score against that?
He scored 120.66.
Not too good, right? Oh, he did. That's crazy. Okay, that's good. That was a decision.
3, successful 6.
Wow.
I think that's what did it.
Okay, so yeah, I guess I'm remembering that fight all wrong. I remember talking about it. We green-lighted that fight. I didn't think he scored that well. That's awesome.
Well, especially at his price at 1.
Like I said, he's got that wrestling background, so.
Yeah, and you love it. 8,300.
What about, and what did he score against Danny Chavez?
Chavez, he scored 95, so I think that would that would have easily made it.
Hearing these things, Matt, knowing how good of a counter style he is here, and he's been pretty successful in UFC with I think a 5-3 record there. I'd probably load up Gordon a little. I'd give him some love here for sure, because if he wins, he's doing okay. And then Salecki might want to counter, even though he's carrying a little bit better ownership. But moving on, we got Alexander Hernandez versus Mike Breeden. I don't think I can get up from Alexander Hernandez at 9,400, Matt. I really don't. We just talked about, I mean, I know it's not going to be the same slate as last time, but we just watched a $9,400 fighter get a 15-second KO and not make the optimal. You know what I mean? That's that quick finish bonus. That's like 130 points. Still didn't make the optimal. It's not going to be that kind of card, so I'm not going to overreact. But I don't know. Hernandez is a huge favorite. Always scares me. He kind of chokes sometimes in this position. His scoring is always super hit and miss too. I honestly will just go yellow here for him for that crazy high price tag. Even with a -175 finish chance against Breeden, who's making his UFC debut. I don't know. I mean, Breeden would probably be yellow too, just because Hernandez is kind of spotty and Breeden has big power. I don't love this fight. Even at a -175 finish chance, Matt, I don't love this fight. Okay. Because the odds are Hernandez wins and doesn't make the optimal. That's the best, or the most likely scenario.
You might have your sharpest fade of the card because he is the benchmark. Hernandez is at 34.4%. So a little bit high there. And then Breeden at 6.1, which I believe is the lowest on the card.
Yeah, I think if there's a fadeable fight on this card, Matt, this is it.
Also, and I saw back-to-back the weirdest things I've ever seen in scoring. Hernandez scored the lowest I've ever seen as a winner against Trinaldo.
40-something.
8.
What was it?
40.8.
Yeah, I saw that the other day, and I was like...
That has to be the lowest I've ever seen.
What was his stat line? Let me see. What was it? Who was it against?
Trinaldo.
Hernandez.
He also threw 91 six strikes and landed 25. Did he have his eyes closed?
Oh, so you have the stats there?
Yeah.
What was the year on that? Oh, I got it.
That was 19.
Yeah, so he landed 25 six strikes, 26 total strikes, 0 takedowns. Dude, you're literally like getting the win bonus. That's all he scored was like the win bonus of +30.
How did he win is my question.
Do you want Trinaldo?
But did he stare at him too?
This is I don't remember this fight. I'm sure we covered it. This might be the worst fight. This sounds like friggin' Gaetano versus Derek Lewis status. Dude, Trinaldo landed 2 more total strikes in the same amount of six strikes, 25.
Yeah,
that's just wow. What a great fight.
How did they pick a winner is my question.
Dude, yeah. Hernandez is very spotty, man. Very spotty. So he has his moments. If there was a fight to fade, this would be it. I'm not going to full red light it, but if there was one, this would be it. Moving on, we get Aspen Ladd versus Macy Chiasson. 2 tough girls here. Ladd is very tough, good finisher. She also comes in at decent value match. She's a -265 favorite at sub 9K, which isn't bad. I believe in her talent with her only loss coming to a very, very tough Germaine de Randamie, who I have a very high opinion of Germaine de Randamie. I think she's very talented. Chiasson is also good, also tough, which I just talked about. This is set to be a super high-level women's MMA fight, Matt. I do think Ladd is better here. I usually like Macy as well in her fights, so this one's interesting. What's the ownership looking like? That might be able to help me with this one.
Yeah, 32.4, so below that benchmark, Kevin, for Ladd, and Chiasson, 19.5.
So people are decently high on Macy, too. That's not bad.
They're both below that
I'm saying
benchmark.
Comparatively for Ladd, like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's not bad ownership for a $7,300 underdog. I guess double green it.
All right.
More so Ladd. I just like Ladd. I believe in her talent level a little more.
I'll put 2
very good. Scores well. Yeah, she scores well too. What was Ladd's last scores and wins?
Ladd's last scores and wins were 98.8, 88 in a decision, 115 KO, 95 KO. So yeah, she's still scoring pretty well there.
That's not bad. Yeah, that's pretty, like, for decisions, those aren't bad. Like at 8,900, that's very close to optimal. You know what I mean? Then you just need like a finish would push her over, and it is a +120 finish chance, which is pretty high for women's fights. Pretty friggin' high.
Jason also scores pretty well from what I'm looking at.
She does.
She's had one bad one, and that was her last one, which is 75. But other than that, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I got a pretty high opinion of both these girls, so it's gonna be interesting.
Again, it's weird. It's like you're not being sexist for once.
Oh, I know. It's so odd for us. Moving on, we got Misha Serkinov versus Krzysztof Joko. This might can't do it. Want to red light Joko? Not gonna do it. I'm gonna yellow him.
You only get versed?
I don't want to red light him because it's a -200 finish chance, and Serkinov gets finished like you read about. He's a glass cannon kind of guy. Has been finished in all 6 of his losses, so I cannot. Joko's probably very live almost here just for that reason. Maybe I should even green light him. Maybe I should green light Joko. I'm just gonna say this, Matt.
You went from red to green.
Listen, I just this one pisses me off. It's because I don't want to be on the wrong side of history on this one. You know what I mean? I don't want to be on the wrong side. Like, Joko is just, I fucking hate him. He's
I'll
had
make
10 documented, 10 documented. I'm getting so fucking fired up I can't even talk. 10 documented DraftKings fights, okay? He has cleared 100 points one time, okay? He's boring as shit. He likes to squeak out wins. That's what he does. He's very passive, very precise. He's a technical fighter, but he rarely goes in for the kill. He's a boring fighter. He'll just, whatever. But I'm going to double green it, Matt. I'm going to double green it. It's a minus 200 finish chance at great pricing. Serkinov gets finished like you read about, and he can also finish people very easily. So sleeps Joko. I don't think Joko's an amazing fighter. So, yeah, I just think, like, it won't be a love lister. In 9 out of 10 times, Matt, in a fight with this pricing and finish chance, it would be a love lister. So I think going green is already contrarian.
Well, guess what? You made the right choice here because nobody's touching this fight. Serkinov is carrying more ownership than Joku, so it looks like everybody hates Joku based on.
Joku sucks. Fuck Joku.
This is a casual stance in, but they're both carrying very low ownership. Serkinov 26.4 and Joku 16.4. So both very, very low, Kevin. So you might want to go overweight on this, just like you said.
Yeah, I'll probably load it up, and if I win $1 million through Joko, I'll still be mad.
Oh, you still
no, still be mad. But he definitely could easily be the guy. I mean, minus 200 finish chance.
I was getting a takedown yesterday with the Jaguars, and I was just still mad because I knew they were going to lose. I was still mad about it. I was like, let's go Jags.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Like, that's like when I take Derek Lewis and he does well. I'm like, great, yay, money.
Kevin, we were up 14-0 at halftime, and I just knew what was going to happen. I just knew exactly how it was going to go. Yep, I had no hope for them the entire game. I was just like, yep, if you guys are betting on this game, please just bet on the Bengals second half. I've been here. Really? I've done this so many times.
That's sad that you were right. That's sad.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
It's not even a lack of coaching at this point. It's just I know looking at this defense how bad. Anyway, this is MMA. We'll keep down this. We'll talk about it next video.
Yeah, it happens. I understand. Moving on, we got Alex Oliveira versus Nico Price, Matt. Oliveira has been pretty bad lately. Hasn't gotten a finish in 3 years, which is, has always been his silver lining, is his power and his finish ability. I'm going to mark him yellow in a close fight on paper with a high finish chances, a minus 225 finish chance. But I have absolutely not loved what I've seen from him lately, especially in the grappling department. He's a bad grappler. Price, a little more here. A little more favorite here as the favorite. He's looked good even in losses. Like in his last loss against Pereira, he looked pretty good. He has better grappling than Oliveira, so he should win that department where Oliveira struggled. All of Price's career losses are very quality. He has big power too and can counter, a good style for Oliveira. If you go super heavy on Price though, Matt, obviously you want to probably come back around and take a ton of Oliveira as well. Like, say you're going to go 100% on Price on all your lineups, you want to target, him, then definitely throw in Oliveira just to, save yourself a little bit, because it is a minus 225 finish chance, Matt. So, the winner of this should score pretty well.
All right. We have Price sitting here at 35.7, so right above that benchmark, that cash range there for Price, and Oliveira at a 18 point. So that's relatively low. Based on the Vegas odds here, they're giving him a 40% chance to win this thing.
Yeah, I think it's for the reasons I'm saying. There's a reason I'm over or way more over Price than Oliveira, but makes sense. I don't think there's too much more to talk about that one. It's pretty cut and dry. I mean, I don't love the fight. I don't love either of these guys historically, but it's a minus 225 finish chance and very volatile. So I think you can load it up a little bit.
This next one I can already tell is gonna get you fired up just based on the names alone. Like I can already sense it. Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's funny, Matt. Usually it's not gonna be a love lister. It really won't. But I do like these fighters. I've had one love lister going into this co-main, Matt, which is actually wild, as we just talked about. It changes week to week, at 6 punts alone a couple weeks ago. But it doesn't mean I don't like the fights or fighters on this card. Like I said, it just means that there's a lot of question marks in these fights, which can be good or, could be bad. This will be another tough one with loveless potential, but not quite there. I love Holland. I love his talent, but his scoring, Matt, it's not great. It really isn't. His wins, listen to his wins here. I know you have them there, but I'll read them up. 73, trash. 86, mid-range, okay, I guess, depending on the pricing. I mean, that could be the optimal. It could not be the optimal, depending. 131, off the fucking charts. 98, good. 84, mid-range. 113, amazing. 97, good. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like, it's all over the place. He really is. So, as you see, half the time, he would probably score at 8,500. Let's put him at his price right now, Matt. 73 is fucking awful. 86 isn't going to make you optimal. 84 is not going to make you optimal. 97 is going to be close. You know what I mean? And then obviously anything above
97
that.
will.
Yeah, probably. I mean, we don't know, Matt. Last card it wouldn't have.
Yeah, I feel like last card was like the first time we've seen that high of a score.
It's true.
We've never seen that. We've never.
It's true. I mean, but I think even the fight either before that, Matt, all 6 people in the optimal cleared 100. Yeah. Like it was either the card before that, like, you know, it's been happening like crazy lately with the new scoring. So I don't know. Dawkins is different. I just don't quite believe in his talent level yet, Matt. I don't get too excited to pick him like I do for his brother. He got smoked by Hawes, had a very close win over Stoltzfus, and then he lost in his debut to, I think it was his UFC debut to Brendan Allen, but actually looked pretty good doing it, and Allen's very tough. So I'm going to mark Kyle yellow, and I guess Holland will be a light green here.
Okay, don't know how to do that with my thumbs, but
just for the listeners, just a a lighter shade of green.
33.1 for Holland, which is right below that cusp, and Dawkins at 19.3. So another low combined ownership, Kevin. So does that push you in one direction or another?
I guess I don't love Dawkins. I don't know why. I just don't. I've not been super impressed by him. I mean, he got fucking smoked by Hawes.
Yeah, and I mean he hasn't scored. He hasn't scored fantastically.
Yeah, let me see the.
Well, in his win, he scored 91. So I mean that
in the Hawes fight, he got taken down twice, and he got outstruck by over 100. Like, geez, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I mean Holland's been. Is Holland on a 2-loss streak now?
Who?
Let me see. Kevin Holland. Is he on a 2-loss streak?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. But again, it's Marvin Vettori and fucking Derek Brunson. So what are we doing here? Yeah. And that's after his 5 wins in 1 year. So I still believe in Kevin Holland. I don't think there's anything to go crazy about over there.
That explains why these odds are probably so much closer than they're supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think Holland is just context is everything in sports, Matt. We know that who your opponent is, who you've beaten, who you haven't beaten. But moving on, very interesting main event, Matt, and very obvious love lister. It will make for the second one on my list, but it's awesome. Really weird one in the sense both these guys have had pretty drastic highs and lows in their careers. Walker, when he was 4-0 in the UFC with 3 finishes, was a very high for him. Then he hurt himself celebrating and went on a 2-loss streak after that, so that was a low for him.
Wait, was he the back flipper?
Yep, or did the worm or something. Hurt his shoulder or something. He's an idiot. Thiago Santos lost a debatable split decision to John Jones, which was absolutely his high. And well, I shouldn't say absolutely, because he also did knock out Jan Blachowicz, who is now the current light heavyweight champion of the world. So he had some very high moments, but then he lost 2 in a row after that. So obviously some low moments too. Before I saw the lines on this fight, Matt, I was like, I had the finish chance in my head just looking at Santos versus Walker. I was like, this is going to be like a -600 finish chance. And I wasn't too far off. I think it's about -500. These guys are murderers, Matt. This is one of those. Santos is one of the heaviest handed fighters I've ever seen. He has an absolute just hammer in his hand. And Walker is an alien. He just disgusting knees, elbows, very, John Jones in his prime-esque of just kind of fluid. The way he moves is just weird too. It's like, I don't know. He's deadly as shit. No way this goes 5 rounds. No fucking chance. I would say if you want to take the prop bet at minus, get your free money, because I don't see a world where just knowing these guys that this fight for 5 rounds. Are you kidding me? No. As to a winner, they're both strikers, but different in their approaches. Like I said, Santos more of a power puncher. Not that he's not accurate. Very good. Kickboxing. I think he's a black belt in Muay Thai. Johnny Walker's a little more unorthodox, a little unconventional. But it's tough at this point in their careers to judge who wins this fight match, just knowing that both of them are kind of coming off some lower moments, but they have that potential.
The pricing makes this a very annoying fight, and it makes it annoying because I'm about to ask you, is this fight stackable? I already know what you're going to say. You're going to say no.
No,
but
just no.
The ownership is so freaking high on both these guys because they're stupid price tags, and it makes me so it takes me off because if you stack this fight, that's going to be
a shitty cash card. I'm just going to say, don't try to make this. This is my opinion.
Well, I never play cash anyway, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, I know, and I know I always force cash. You know that. This is one of those cards I would probably try to historically force into a cash lineup. Don't play cash. Don't do it. Don't try to make this happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you want to stack it with super high ownership, but you also don't want to be on the wrong side of
Yeah, you're getting
know,
you're getting
if you take a
120 and you're
stance.
getting 0. So
Yeah,
that's what you're
exactly.
getting.
And you don't want to be on the wrong side if you take one of them. Say you know this fight isn't going to go the distance. You know one's going to score like shit, and you're like, okay, I just want the winner. You could easily be on the wrong side, and then next thing you know, one of them. What is Santos's ownership like?
Oh yeah,
Just
so I
give me
didn't even,
Santos's.
I didn't even
Yeah,
read
yeah.
the ownership. 41.8. He's the highest.
So
and
he's
Walker.
41. Okay.
Yep.
So you take Walker. You know, now you're down to 41% of the field, like,
Right.
and vice versa. So sorry, what's Walker's?
And Walker's 36.7. Now keep in mind this
There
is
you go.
GBP, so Santos is going to be 60, Walker's going to be 40. So you're picking the
Yeah.
wrong side
Yeah.
either way. So
Yep, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my stance on that for stacking. Even if or just go GP. This is a very GPP card, especially with what we're talking about the spread ownership here, Matt. As a cash games aficionado, don't play cash.
yes,
That's my stance.
And I agree with that. This is one side or the other type fight. We've seen a couple
I
cards
just
like
mean
that.
this card in general too. Like, don't play cash this card.
All right, let's move on then. Your core GPPs and punts, Kevin. Take it home.
I don't have a lot. I just have the Malarkey fight, Malarkey and Smith for my GPPs map.
Okay.
Just talk about the pricing, volatility, really low ownership there. Like I said, there's a lot of good fights on this card. Doesn't mean I think it's a shit card or that there's not good fights on it.
No,
It's
there's
just a lot of good ones. It's just not a lot of ones that have like kind of like standout. You know,
Besides main event.
this is how it should happen. Exactly. There's so much volatility, and then the main event, obviously, one of those guys. I can't even say like one of those guys is going to be a lock for optimal, just because like. You know, they could be slow. They're big dudes, light heavies. Like, they could be slow. Then someone gets a second or third round knockout, and they don't make the optimal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I see what you're
Like,
saying.
they're the kind of guys where, like, 5 rounds actually doesn't really, like, hurt or help them.
right.
Because I don't think it's going to
Okay.
go past 3.
So
I'd be shocked if it did.
Let me ask you this. Is this a favorable main event then in big GPPs? Could
Almost
be.
like because they're so powerful and because it's such an obvious choice, I'm going to say yeah, Matt.
Yeah,
I'm
because
going to say yeah.
the ownership is crazy. Yep.
Because that's the thing, like, we love these heavy hitting guys and, you know, these finishers, but like the thing is, it's a double-edged sword, because if you're getting your finish in the second or third, it depends how much volume you got up until that point. It really does. And, you know, these are big, you know, heavy hitting guys. Santos isn't like a monster in terms of his pace. He's a monster in terms of his ability, but not his pace. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know.
I wish we
gonna be
had more of a
interesting.
sample size to see like what they do in 5 rounders, and we really don't. We have one from Santos's side here on John Jones.
Against John Jones.
That
Yeah,
was it.
That's it.
You know,
That's it.
so that's
So.
kind of a good thing to think about here. This might be a fadeable main
If
event.
you're doing big tourneys, yeah, fade it. I think it could be like I said, second round KO. There's a big slate. Still got 13 fights, Matt. Knowing everything we know, their pricing doesn't make it easy. What's Santos again?
Santos is 41.8.
No, price.
Sorry, 8,800. Yep,
7,
it's disgusting.
8,800. Yeah, maybe you could fade a Santos and get crazy a little bit. I don't know.
So I'm so ready. I'm so ready for the comments. Don't fade the main event. Are you stupid? You also haven't won $1 million. Get out of the comment section. Thank you very much. Fire back before you even say anything. All right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, guess what? That's also we're shooting shots at the sexist people in our comment section too. So
True.
yeah, and we don't hold back here.
Shoot 'em
Guys,
down, Matt.
if you enjoyed this content, please do hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course, smash that like button for all of our future MMA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your weekend. Let's cash.